You are now tuned in to the On Track with All My People podcast with your hosts, Amber Peters, A.K.A. Mizz P.
And Daitwan David, A.K.A. Dr. Change, ain't nothing strange about it, A.K.A. Mr. David, A.K.A. Ayo Mizz.
Oh my God, Daitwan, can we just start the show already? Hey. Oh, we back.
We are back. I'm really happy that we're about to get to this episode. Today, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm not going to give you the antics today. I'm going to go straight into the episode. Are you happy about that?
Yes, I think.
Yeah, you are. You are. See, I'm not going to do any antics, but I want the people to know, right, that you came for me and called me a nerd recently because of how much I like data, right? And how excited I get about data. But that's okay, right? Because we're gonna talk about data. I got my phone here. Last time I was banging on the table and doing way too much. You said I typed
way
too hard.
Much.
So I'm gonna address that. I got my phone right now. We're talking about data, and I'm very intrigued by data that I recently got a chance to kind of look at. That's associated with this episode. One of the things that we both do is support students with access and success work, right? Like there are many times where we're helping students to figure out their plan, not just for the immediate year after, but for the next couple of years, right? And then sometimes we'll have students that have graduated that have, been like, hey, I need support. And one particular way that we oftentimes need support is with students figuring out transferring from one school to the next, right? So I've had to have students to be basically like realize they weren't able to get to their school that they wanted to get to initially. And so they maybe had to start out at another school or specifically a 2-year school and then transfer. And then I've had students that were at 4-year schools. They didn't like the experience. They couldn't afford it anymore. They had to transfer in that way. So in 2021, Forbes posted an article. I'm really curious about this and curious about your thoughts. They mentioned these 3 particular categories, right? Of transfers. So they mentioned like reverse transfers is when you go from a 4-year to 2-year, which hasn't been the most common experience for me professionally working with students, right? Lateral transfers from same level to same level. So like from a 2-year to a 2-year or 4-year to a 4-year. And then we've had like upward transfers from 2 years to 4 years, which is what most of my experience has been. So in terms of reverse transfers, lateral transfers, upward transfers, I want to know from you, your professional experience, because you are out in these streets, the professional fields, which type of transfer do you think is the most challenging to support a student with? Being able to go from a 4-year to a 2-year, from a same level to same level, or from a 2-year to 4-year?
I think the 4 to the 2, right? Because my question is like, what warrants a reverse transfer, right? I actually know someone who did actually it wasn't a reverse transfer because they actually graduated from their 4-year institution and then went back to a 2-year to start a different process. So I know that it's possible for people to go back to 2 years, but I'm wondering like what was the reason to do this reverse transfer? Why are we going from a 4 to a 2-year? I mean, for a lot of kids, I have heard that they would have preferred starting at a 2-year just so that they can kind of like get the wind in their sails a little bit. But I haven't heard of that. I think that would be the most challenging because it's like I don't even think I have the words to be like, why are we doing right? Like I have some more questions will pop up for me in that regard to be like, why are we going from 4 to 2? Like what is the reasoning behind it? I haven't had that happen, so I think that would be the most challenging because one thing I wouldn't want to do is like question the student to death, but I would be very curious as to why they're going from a 4 to a 2. So I would say that one, reverse transfers for sure.
Perfect. So, okay, I have 2 particular possible scenarios. One is students may not be able to afford things financially, right? Like they've gone to these
I didn't think
particular
about
schools
that.
and they're like, man, I can't afford this. Tuition at the 2-year is affordable. And they also got put on game, right? Like that the classes that you would have taken in your first year or 2, hopefully is going to transfer and they're going to be more cheaper at the community college or they're going to be cheaper at the community college. And then you'll get the opportunity to kind of take your other classes elsewhere. The other thing is they're kind of forced to do it because their GPA is trash. Like their GPA has tanked. They weren't able to meet the academic standards. And at that point in time, they probably, in terms of transferring, maybe got removed from from their school or academic dismissal or whatever, and now they have to kind of start over at another institution, right? So that might be the two reasons. But um, something that was very interesting in 2021, Forbes mentioned in an article in 2021 that there were X amount of college transfers in 1 year, 2.1 million college transfers in 1 year.
That makes
Now,
sense.
so the interesting thing about it is that that was a 9% decline from the previous year. 2.1 million, just wrapping my head around that, that's a lot of students moving from one place to another. And they would believe that the decline in transfers was because of like, COVID having an impact. But something that the National Student Clearinghouse mentioned in their research is that men and Black students showed the largest decrease in transfers, which I think is a very interesting point. But to couple that, HBCU remained largely unaffected. So that I believe has to mean
Hmm.
something, right? Like I'm very curious.
I'm
Like
very
they
curious about that. Hmm.
remain largely
I mean, that
unaffected,
sounds good.
possibly. And I would love
Could
to
be
be
a
able to
good
kind
thing.
of speak to other professionals in the field and also HBCUs, the admissions, etc., to see like what was the impact with that. Um, One of the other things that they mentioned, which is um, probably more alarming, is that Black students have had the largest decrease in upward transfers, right? So the largest decrease in transferring from 2 years to 4 year schools, um, although transfer schools to highly selected colleges saw the largest increase. So there's still some situations, equity issues, just sort of like gaps that are probably being widened because of the COVID and pandemic. And I want to be able to kind of get into that. One thing that I found interesting though, when I looked at which schools had the most transfers, University of Maryland Global Campus um, had 9,400 transfers. And there's about 55,000 students at that school, right? So about 17% of that campus were transferring. I'm thinking, and I'm wondering, just from your standpoint, why do you think like large institutions like that are having so many people like transferring?
I mean, I can't speak to this college in particular.
Right?
I think a lot of times, as you said before, sometimes the cost, right? Sometimes the um, performance of the student will require that they have to leave. But that's interesting that they had so many students transfer out of
No,
their
no, no.
campus,
They had students transferring in. They had students
transferring
transferring in.
in.
So
Oh, I mean,
seventeen
well,
percent.
if they're
Yeah.
transferring in, they're transferring in, it could be that maybe that was the dream school, right? And they had to go, figure it out somewhere else, which is common, right? It's very common for students to do that. Like, I know for me, I'm a transfer student, right? I started off at a 2 year college. I tell my story openly because a lot of the times, I think for me, especially as a transfer student, like there was a lot of judgment with the choices that I made in the first place. But a lot of my choices was because we ain't have it, right? We didn't have it, and I didn't know half of the things I know now to educate students about. And so for me, I had to get it right, and then I was able to transfer in. Now, did I still want to go to the school? I really wanted to go to HBCU. I wanted to go to Fayetteville State. Could I have still done that? Yes, but for me, like the choice was made that I would just stay where I was. I had a job and things like that, so I was like, a little bit more comfortable in being here. So like, I could have easily have seen myself actually transferring into the school that I wanted to, though, right? Had those things not been a factor, I know I would have transferred in, and I probably like now looking back at it, I'm like, dang, I should have just went HBCU, right? Especially like like the more I'm learning, the more I'm getting to interact with people who went to HBCUs. They just so happy, right? And I was like, not to say that my experience wasn't that great, but like for me, like it wasn't a thought at the time, but like now I'm like, dang, maybe I should have like transferred in. But like I can see why people would figure out like maybe I didn't do so well before. Now I have the chance of a lifetime to go to the school that I wanted to go to in the first place. Heck yeah, I'm out. I could see it.
So
I could see that being a thing.
I love that you shared your story and was very transparent about that. I think it's important. I'll also share mine in a second. But we have a guest that's on here that's going to be sharing her story. We're going to be bringing on this amazing young powerhouse. Let's
Yes.
welcome Abraiya Ruffin to this space.
Welcome.
Hello,
Abraiya, good
hello.
morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're good. We're good. We're
Amazing.
good.
Better that you're
So,
here.
Yay. Thank you for having
100%.
me.
Yes. So Amber, just thank you for letting me know in the private chat and not in public that I've been wrecking Ralph and making mad noise on these.
If y'all hear a noise in the background, y'all know
So
it wasn't me.
so I'm trying. I'm trying. I don't want y'all seeing like I'm distracted. I'm here with y'all. But Amber said I make too much noise, so
He
I'm
gets so
getting the
excited.
notes.
He's just so passionate.
Passionate. Passionate. So
Passionate.
let's get into something I am passionate about. I am passionate about young people, especially young people I have known. And I have known Abrea probably maybe a few years after her out of diapers,
Right.
for a very long time through essentially like family, right? But this is not about our relationship. This is about you. We're going to highlight and celebrate you. So let's get into it. Abrea, you are
Okay.
a senior multimedia journalism student at Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. And for most people, they're going to know that as FAMU. Your
Right.
career highlights include an internship at CNTV, WCTV, and live anchor for News 20 at 5. You also are a binge reader, and your superpower is storytelling. Abrea,
Word.
welcome to our space on track for all my people. How you feel?
I feel great. I'm excited to be here.
Woo, woo.
Perfect.
Thank you
So
so much for being
perfect.
here. Like, first of
Thank
all,
you.
I was looking through all this stuff, right? So like we have our guests do a whole little survey for us, and I'm sitting here like, yes, ma'am, like the whole time. So
Mhm.
like let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the energizer, right? Like we always have our guests do this just because we want them to be a little bit more comfortable. And so you guys can get to know our guests, right? You got to get to know our friends. So this is gonna be like a little rapid fire kind of situation, okay?
Okay.
So your favorite book.
My favorite book would be Children of Blood and Bone.
Ooh, that's a good one. Hot fire. Best place to go during spring break.
Miami.
Ooh, Miami. Miami. Okay.
Miami.
Okay. Best HBCU social activity.
Set Friday.
Oh, wait. Tell us more about that.
Please.
So, every Friday we have Set Friday out on the quad. They play music. They have vendors, selling food. Um, the sororities and frats are doing their thing. So it's just like a big social gathering, a big social party, on campus. It's lovely. I love it.
It sounds like a lot of fun. I love that. Hardest college task.
Woo, meeting those deadlines.
Period. I do not miss that at all.
Right.
Favorite relaxation technique.
Meditation or reading for sure.
Mm, nice. Most resourceful college person to know.
Your academic advisor.
Nice. Can you say give a little blurb about why? Why the
I
academic
think
advisor?
I think having a relationship, a professional relationship with your academic advisor is important so you stay on track. When you're graduating, my academic advisor has my number and he'll shoot me like text like, hey, make sure you sign up for intent to graduate. Make sure you get this, graduation application done before the deadline. So I think it's important to know them so you can stay on track.
I love it. I love it. And favorite professional moment.
My favorite professional moment would be when I created Um, actually, when I anchored for News 20 at 5 last semester.
Tell us more about that. You can't just glaze over that. Like, how many people is an anchor on a whole news network? Like, don't glaze over
Right.
that.
So, FAMU's J School, we have a live newscast. It's a real newscast that goes live twice a week on Mondays and Wednesdays at 5 p.m. on Comcast if you're in the Tallahassee area. And we air to over 80,000 households in the area. So, every semester, they have people in J School, students in J School audition for that show. It's a 30-minute newscast, and we tell like real news. So we have a whole rundown with local stories, national stories, entertainment, and sports. So I auditioned last summer and I was able to land the main anchor position. And so all of last fall, from about September to December, we did about 20 shows, which I was able to sit at the desk and anchor for every day at 5 p.m. every Monday and Wednesday for 30 minutes. So it was really cool. And yeah, it was a great experience.
It sounds like a lot of fun. Wow. Can we give some snaps for our girl?
I snap for that.
Snaps for our girl.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I am trying to stay professional in my
I
journalistic
know. I see
space,
you like beaming
right?
over there.
Yeah, man, listen, like her aunt, who I'm also very close with, posted her accomplishments last night, coincidentally, right? And just talked about how surprised, like the family is so proud of her accomplishments. So it's so dope to hear her in this space with her confidence. Because we're going to get a chance to kind of talk about, just the things that impacted that at one point in time when she was at her first college, right? Like, and then I'm just so happy to be able to share this story because I know that some of the ebbs and flows, right? So, Bray, we're getting into our next section, kind of building rapport and everything, right? I want you to briefly summarize your high school accomplishments because I think it's important for everybody to understand your story, to know, like, you were that person. In the NBA, they say when somebody's really nice, they say he is him, and she is her. You are her, right? Like you were
Right.
doing your thing in high school. So just summarize before we even get into the transition to college. Summarize what were you doing, and how did you set yourself up for college?
Okay, so in high school, I was in the National Honor Society. I was the president of the Student Government Association, so I was SGA president over the school. I was in the Thespian Society, so I directed and starred in plays that were going on at our school. We had a Black History Month play, we had like Shakespeare plays and stuff like that that we did. I was also on the cheer team. I was on the varsity cheer squad, so I was very active on campus, which is crazy because I'm very shy and like introverted, but I try to get myself out there and kind of just interact and make a change in the school. So I was heavily involved in high school.
Nice.
Mhm.
Nice.
So, in thinking about that, heavily involved, you are being very humble, and what I'm looking for is a humble brag right now. You also graduated with something that a lot of students don't have the opportunity to do, right? Like you were set up for,
Oh, yes. I
yeah,
did
the
miss
O.
that. I did miss
Yes.
that.
Talk about it. Talk about
So
it.
I was enrolled in dual enrollment. So I was able to take college courses at our community college that was right across the street from my high school. So I was able to graduate with my associate's degree out of high school.
Nice.
Straight out of high school. Um, for just because I just have a quick follow up question for students that are in high school. Can you, because they're gonna look at me, they're gonna see all this silver. Amber's gonna call it gray because she's a hater. They're gonna see all the silver in my beard and be like, I'm way too old, right?
Mhm.
When I tell them the story and the importance of dual enrollment, they may look at me funny. What is the benefit from a near peer to them?
Dual enrollment is so important because obviously you have AP courses, which are, very challenging and they're great for college credit. But dual enrollment does offer you the actual chance to be on a college campus and experience what it's like to be in front of college professors, get that kind of college experience, even if it's, a community college. Is really important for you to experience dual enrollment. I personally thought it was really cool how they added, my college courses to my high school schedule. And so I was
Mm-hmm.
able to do both at the same time, and it wasn't too overwhelming for me. So it was kind of a part of my high school class schedule. So I think it's really important for students to look into, talk to your guidance counselor and see, what the requirements are for you to get into dual enrollment. Again, they can add those classes to your schedule so it's not too overwhelming for you. But it's a great opportunity to be able to graduate with your AA and your high school diploma is really cool. It's a big opportunity.
And saves you money and
Yeah.
time, right?
Yes, it does. It does.
So how many
So-
years do you have left as a result of that? Did you only have to do like 2 years, or did they discount some of the credits that you had, or how did it work?
So, I transferred to a college right after I graduated out of high school, and I was only going to have 2 years there, but I ended up changing my major and switching to another school again, so I transferred twice.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's why I had an extra 2 years, but I would have only had 2 years at a 4-year institution had I stayed at that school.
Got it. Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Perfect. And I'm glad you mentioned that because it transitions to this next question. So you got into your first college.
Mhm.
It was a college in Florida, PWI.
Mhm.
Before you tell us what you decided to do based on that experience, I want you to tell us how was your experience at your first college? I mean, you are on fire. You have 2 years left. You are SGA, like you are a thespian. You like you're
Mhm.
everywhere, right? Like you are the quintessential
Mhm.
student, right? What was the experience like at your first college?
So I was at a PWI after I transferred from the community college after high school. I was at University of Central Florida in Orlando, and I started off studying radio and television production. And I will say that, UCF has a really big campus. They have great technology. They have a lot of great advancements as far as technology for their communication students. So that was really cool. But I will say my experience there kind of wasn't what I expected it to be.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I wasn't learning like the things that I wanted to learn or felt like I needed to know about. So I kind of felt like I fell into this sort of like shell where I'm just in class. I'm not really retaining anything. I didn't feel like I could apply that to my career outside of my career as a student. I felt like my degree wasn't going to matter. So my experience there, I felt like it was short, but I really wasn't liking how I felt in class. And when I went home, it wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
That is, man. I think it's unfortunate, but I also think it kind of helped propel you
Mm-hmm.
into what you were able to get to and accomplish right now. So there's definitely a testimony within that. So we're transitioning because there's a website called Best Colleges, and they listed the top 12 reasons that students transfer. So I'm going to read off the list, and I want you to kind of give me a quick yes or no and
Mm-hmm.
a quick why if this applied to you, if this is a part of you transferring from UCF to what we're going to unveil in a second. So, did you transfer essentially to FAMU? We already mentioned that because of a community college experience. So you were transferred from a 2 year to 4 year.
Um, well, yes, no, I was transferring from UCF, so no.
So no, perfect.
Mhm.
COVID-19 having an impact.
Yes.
Okay, quickly let us know what was, if you can, the impact.
Well, so I will say part of a big reason why, I didn't like being at UCF was because the classrooms were so large. I didn't have a personal connection with my teachers. So when the pandemic hit, that made it even worse because now we're online and we have 200 students on Zoom and it was just, I was like, I can't do this. I can't,
Mm-hmm. And
yeah.
we heard
And
that from a lot of students. A lot of students
mhm,
complained about, that whole, like, it wasn't so much that it was online. It was just like how they were choosing to execute these online classes that was like the
Right,
issue. Mm-hmm.
right.
100%.
Mm,
And I think you kind of talked about this, but briefly, social isolation, is that a factor?
absolutely.
What would be your quick response to that?
I will just say, I felt out of place at UCF. Tried to make friends and go to social events, but I felt uncomfortable. I felt really uncomfortable, and I won't speak to blaming that on UCF itself, because everybody fits in somewhere, but that wasn't the place for me.
Got it. So this, I'm pretty sure is going to be a yes. Not the right environment.
Right.
Okay. Changing majors.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Quickly talk about that.
So like I said, I was studying radio and television production at UCF, which is mainly just like a behind the scenes kind of study. So I was studying cameras and technical words, it's a very important job. but I wanted to do journalism. So I tried to make the transition at UCF. I tried to stay there because I was being talked into staying there to their journalism program. But their journalism program is very selective. So they only allow, I think at the time it was like 40 students. I could be wrong, but I know it was less than 50 per semester into their journalism program. And to say it's very competitive, I didn't feel like that was the reason I didn't get in, because I had all the requirements. So I was really just kind of stuck sitting there like, okay, well, why didn't I get accepted into this program? I really want to study journalism. I want to be in front of the camera. So I felt defeated. I was like, I already don't feel comfortable here in this environment. And now, I can't study what I want to study, which isn't fair. So I was like, I have to go.
Got it.
Heard you. School recognition and prestige.
Can you?
Yeah. So did you transfer because you believed that the school you were transferring to had better recognition and prestige? Like some people, will boast about the Harvards or the NYUs or the Yales or whatever. The prestige plays a role, right? Like, so
So
is that what's a factor?
yes, definitely. I felt like, especially the research I did on FAMU, I felt like it was a great transition for me. I felt like the things that I was hearing, the research that I saw about the school, and especially about their journalism program, was just a no-brainer. It was so easy for me to make that decision.
Perfect financial situation.
Yes,
Yeah,
Which
money.
one was
absolutely.
which one was more expensive between the two?
UCF and Orlando is the more expensive city to live in, also. And I wasn't receiving any kind of aid while I was at UCF. So,
Got it.
mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The rest, I'm going to assume, don't reply to you, but don't apply to you. But sports transfer um, doesn't doesn't apply. International transfer, corporate or job transfer, which means that you might have been getting your education through the job that you're working with, and you move to a new location, so you have to transfer schools and return to school to complete a degree. So I I think that helps to kind of really set us up for this next question that Amber is going to lead us on, because you transferred to FAMU. Um,
Right.
and man, we talked about you transferring to FAMU before
We
you
did.
actually did it for a while. So
Hmm.
Amber, what is the question you have?
So, okay, so we want to know more about your experience at
Hmm.
FAMU. So, like, it sounds like when you did your research, you was like, "Ooh,
Oh.
that sounds good," right? So,
Yeah.
we want to kind of get an idea. Like, for me, like, my only frame of reference of FAMU is like on television, right? And I've always seen like really great things about FAMU. There was a couple of people that I followed that came from FAMU, right? I believe the guy who played Bobby Brown in the Bobby Brown story came from FAMU. There was
Hmm.
another gentleman, I forget the name of the show. It was like I think it was called Hit the Floor. And one of the gentlemen that was in that, he came from FAMU as well, right? So, like, that's my
Hmm.
only frame of reference, but like everybody has this reverence for FAMU. So I want to know, like, what was your first semester like? And like, how is it different from you being at your other college?
So my first semester at FAMU was during the pandemic, so it was on Zoom. But again, my academic advisor gave me his phone number as soon as I transferred. He emailed me his phone number. We got on the phone. He's like, "Here are the classes you need to take because you are now a journalism student. Here is what your 2 years here are going to look like as far as what you're going to be taking, the internships you need." He sent me a list of the internship relationships that FAMU has, which are endless, from CNN to NBC to Bloomberg, all kind of different companies that they work with. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm about to really, um, become an MMJ here. Like I'm really excited. So my first semester we were on Zoom, but all my teachers were very nice. They were organized. Again, the classrooms were smaller, so they're calling on you left and right to hear you talk every class period. Like, I want to hear from you. I want, interaction with each student. So my first semester online was great. And then I finally made the physical transition to FAMU last January, excuse me. And I met all of my professors that I had on Zoom, and it was just amazing. It was amazing.
Awesome. So wait, follow up to that. Like,
Mhm.
how did you know that you made the right choice? Like, what tingle did you get? Like a spidey sense that was like, yes, this
Mhm.
is it. Like, when did you feel like FAMU was the place for you?
Honestly, when I first started on Zoom, I could tell just by all the things I was learning. I took a political science course with one of my professors on Zoom my first semester, and I learned so many things. I learned that I'm interested in political commentating. I would love to learn more about Black politics, politics in general, economic news and social news and stuff like that. So I learned and I was retaining information. I was excited to come to class. I was relating to my classmates. And then when I got here physically and my professors were creating, a professional relationship with me to get to know me better, to get to know why I transferred here and what I wanted out of my degree. And they were saying, okay, this is what you need to join. You need to audition for News 20 at 5. I did that. You need to apply to these internships. I got 2 internships while I was here. And so I just felt like, I made the right decision and I've been really successful here. So that was
I
my,
love that. Can I just
yeah.
say, like, shout out to FAMU for like the personalization, because I think that is some
Hmm.
of the things that really drive people away from certain colleges. Is that
Yes.
level of let me get to know you, let me get to know who you are as a student. I think that is
Hmm.
so like that is so niche and so important, right?
It
Because
is.
a lot of people aren't doing that. You go to a college and you feel like a number, or you just feel like
Yes.
you're just there to exist, but like
Right.
nobody's really like making a concerted effort to like know you. So I really love that they did that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
shout out to FAMU, shout out to
Yes.
FAMU.
Shout out to my HBCU.
Shout outs to your HBCU. Yeah, that FAMU pride is serious. I have a friend, Kristen Wright, and her daughter Yara, who's now a legacy student there. And Kristen just like she posts about that pride, and everybody that I know that went to FAMU, their pride is like on another level. And I really do value it and understand like what it means. Just being able to kind of get some residual of that is really powerful. So I'm curious. I'm curious because I did not go to an HBCU, but I'm going to front like I did. So I'm very curious. Um, what would you say is the benefit of attending an HBCU personally? And I'm going to ask it again a little differently, but personally, what do you think is the benefit of attending the HBCU?
Personally, for me, like I said, when I was at the PWI in Orlando, I did not feel connected to my professors. I didn't feel connected to the courses, the information we were learning. I felt like, this does not speak to my history, who I am, and how I can contribute to the world. So when I came to FAMU, and the first thing my political science teacher was talking about was a Black issue that was going on in the news, and he went around the room and asked how everybody felt, and then he gave facts on how things like that have happened in the past and that currently happen today affect Black people. And I felt, wow, I want to be able to tell stories like this. I want to be able to be a representation to other Black girls, to other Black boys, when I'm on the news, when I'm telling stories that affect them and other people as well. But I think it's important. We see stories in Florida right now with our governor,
Oh wow.
blocking the African American course, stuff like that. Like, I felt like I want my career to benefit my people and other people as well. But that's what I felt like I got from the HBCU personally, was just being able to talk about our history comfortably and learn how to tell the truth in the news, but also learn how to tell our truth. So,
Wait, tell
That
the what? Tell the what?
our
Because
truth.
I don't even know if Florida know how to do that at this point. But
They
that's
don't.
neither here nor there.
Which is why we're
neither
here.
here nor there. Yeah, we might have to move Orlando to Atlanta or something.
Right?
Um, like
Seriously.
Disney World.
Yeah.
We got to move that.
Yeah.
So the same question. You answered personally, and I love that you were able to get that because I
Hmm.
understand you were here. You went to UCF, you kind of shifted down, and then you went
Hmm.
back up. Like you found your place, your
Hmm.
purpose in this place. How does attending an HBCU help you professionally?
Ooh, professionally, I have made so many different connections. FAMU does not play. And a lot of HBCUs are that way. Spelman, you've got Clark Atlanta, they all don't play when it comes to networking. That's what they teach you, that you need to network. You need to go to these conferences. You need to keep good professional relationships with people, and be natural, be yourself, and brand yourself in a certain way. So when it's time to graduate, you have, a list of jobs waiting for you. So professionally, I've gotten 2 internships here. I'm currently doing WCTV, and then I have Bloomberg, in New York this summer. And those are really big companies, really, really big companies. And I got that through my professors being, personable and coming to me and saying, "Hey, Abraiya, you're talented in this way. This is how you can enhance yourself. This is how you can improve." And when they have these companies come every semester. They have these companies come, and it's not just journalism. It's pharmacy. It's SBI. These companies come and they build connections with the students, and they're looking for, the next generation to come in and start careers. So professionally, I did not experience that at UCF. I didn't. And I was nervous when they brought alum back, and they didn't look like me. I didn't see any black news anchors coming back to UCF to talk to us. They were all, white. And so here I've seen all kinds of alum from all kinds of different races come back and really speak to us and provide job opportunities. So professionally, it has been a dream come true.
I love that. And like colleges, take note. I just,
Yes.
I'm a
Please,
pull this
please.
Yes.
piece of hair back right here. Please take note, because I think that is so important. Like the one
Mhm.
thing when I speak to students, the first thing I tell them, I'm like, my my college self, right, was very different from my high school self. My high school self was
Mhm.
a talker, and I used to get in trouble for talking,
Mhm.
and so when I got to college, I said, I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'm going to keep my head in a book. And
Mhm.
had somebody had told me to network, right? Like that is so powerful that they're literally teaching you that. And not only
Right.
are they teaching you to network, they're also bringing the network to you.
To
I
you,
think that's
exactly.
so amazing, and like
Mhm.
speaks to a lot of things that colleges can be doing, right? We can all stand to do a little bit better,
Right.
guys. Just putting it out there.
Right.
But the next question for me is like, you making this choice, right? Like it takes a lot um to go from one place to the other, to decide, right? To make a
Mhm.
decision as an adult, as a young adult, is hard enough, right?
Right.
But like to also make a decision that could impact, right, and change your life, could have been for the better, could have been for the worse, but like you deciding to do that in the first place is super brave, right? So
Mhm.
like what kind of advice would you give to a student who maybe is on a campus that they're just not feeling it? It's just, it
Mhm.
doesn't feel like it's for them. Like what kind of advice would you give a student that is going through what you went through? How would you tell them to like go about looking into transferring?
So, to any student that is considering, that has the slightest feeling that they should be at another university, another college, or having the thoughts of transferring, I would say first do research. That is the first thing I did. I researched all the colleges that I wanted to maybe transfer to, as far according to my major. So I saw that FAMU was ranked in the top 5 journalism schools in the state of Florida. And I then went to my family. I went to my aunt. I went to Daitwan, and I said, what should I do? How can I go about transferring? Where do I start? Is this a good decision for me? And they supported me. My aunt paid for my application fee to apply to FAMU. She said, I'm going to help you in any way I can. So use your resources, your family, your school, even. I did go to UCF and I said, hey, I want to make this transfer. And they were, helpful. They did say, okay, we're going to make sure we have your records ready to send to FAMU. And so I would say use all the resources that you can and prepare yourself mentally. Know that it's
Mhm.
okay if you're switching different majors. Know that it's okay if it sets you off track. You don't need to graduate by this date. Just know that you're doing what's best for you, what's best for your career, and you want to be happy with what you're doing. You always want to be happy with what you're doing.
Absolutely. 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 Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it because like I see so many students like I think sometimes they feel kind of guilty, right? I'm leaving this
Mm,
school to go to another school, but like this journey is about you at this point, right? And it's like
right.
becoming the best version of you. And if you don't allow yourself to do what is best for you, you could be locked into something that is like the most terrible decision you ever made. So thank you for saying that. Thank you so much for saying that. Daitwan?
Yeah, and Amber, I'm glad you brought that up, because change is challenging, and people being brave enough to decide like, hey, I've already invested in this.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be hard for me to leave that. It's an important thing, right? Like it's the thought of like the sunken cost. Sometimes you need to kind of step back and step away, and move move forward as best as possible. And you're moving forward with the degree that you found was the best fit for you. And you talk about being a multimedia journalism major. What are you trying to accomplish with your degree, your experience, your dream? Like, what are you trying to accomplish with that?
Right. So I graduate in May and I have a postgraduate internship in New York. And I
Wait, wait,
would
wait,
like
wait, wait,
to,
wait.
thank
All the
you.
snaps in the mic. All the snaps. All the snaps.
I would like to find a company, whether it's Bloomberg or just a news station, where I can be an MMJ, which is a multimedia journalist. So that means that I would be writing articles, I would be creating video content, I would be anchoring, doing field reporting. And essentially, like I said, my superpower is storytelling. So the things that you see in the news, whatever community it affects, those stories are important to me to tell truthfully, and for those who can't speak for themselves or don't have the platform to. It's important to go out and hear from the community what's important to you, what laws are being passed in your state that you don't like, what leaders do you want to see in position of power. So going out and telling those stories are really important to me, and that's what I hope to be doing. That's what I will be doing after graduation.
Yes, and we love it because we need truth tellers. We
Yes.
need truth tellers. So, question for you: If when you graduate, because it's coming soon, child, it's
Coming up.
coming soon. What are you gonna
Finally.
miss the most about FAMU?
Oh, everything. I've been so sad. Like even the work. Even and when, I hear a lot of students say that although nobody likes homework, we love learning here. We love the assignments that we're given here. So I'm gonna miss learning. I'm gonna miss my professors, and luckily I've been able to build a professional relationship with them outside of school, so that way I can keep in contact. I'm also just going to miss the HBCU environment, like the social gatherings that we have, the jokes that we're able to make in class, and being personable with each other and connecting. So I'm going to miss literally every little thing about FAMU.
Aww.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm sad for you because I can imagine, like, and it's like, I think because of the pandemic too, right? Because you just got there, it feels like, right? And
It
so it's
does.
like, I just got here and then now it's over?
Mhm.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, the same. Like your story and the way you talk about it makes me feel like I want to do college all over again in an HBCU. But I got children, and so I can't afford that. But we're about to wrap up, and I think this next question is very important. Amber and I are considering doing a new segment to this show where we're providing young people an opportunity to just sort of like professionally link with other people in the field. I want to be able to kind of think about this. You talked about the importance of networking, and FAMU is instilling that value. We
Right.
often hear talk about the importance of leveraging social capital. So you're going to embark on a new journey in New York with Bloomberg, and I want you to think about like getting and being exposed to maybe new mentors. So I have a question. I want you to look in the camera, and we're going to be focused directly on you.
Okay.
I want you to speak to a prospective mentor in this space. I want you to state your name, school, and major. What are your core values? Some of this may be core values that you have already like had and exhibited, and others maybe you've learned along the way. Um, what is a short-term and long-term career goal, and what are you looking for in a mentor?
Okay. So my name is Abraiya Ruffin. I'm in the state of Florida, and my major is broadcast journalism. Some of my core values in life and in my profession would be always room for learning and growth, um, having professional and personable connections with the people around me and the people that are far away from me. Um, Another core value would be to always stay true to myself and my beliefs. As far as what I would look for in a mentor, just someone that is true to their own journey, that I'm able to relate to in some kind of way, and a mentor that is able to add to me and teach me, um, and just one that listens and is always there when I need them.
Awesome.
Fire. Short
Woo.
term and long term goals. Short term and long term goals.
Short term goals: graduate because it's coming up. Finish out my 2 internships and start saving up and paying back some of my student loans. And long term goals: I would like to get my master's degree next year, and then I want to look into getting my doctorate.
Beautiful. Let's
Man.
go. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Excellent.
Yes.
Oh my
Excellent.
gosh. Can I just say, I'm gonna put it out there. This is my favorite interview. I'm just gonna say that. I'm just gonna say that. I'm just gonna say shout out
Yay.
to the fam. Like, yes, y'all
Yeah,
did that.
she
Shout out to
she is
mama.
her.
Shout out to your village.
Thank
Shout
you.
out to you. Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. The village has done its thing, but she has made it easy
Mm-hmm.
because of her dedication to not just her, but those that she loves as well. And
Mhm.
I'm super proud. I don't get emotional. She ain't gonna see me cry, but if you want to cry, that'll help our likes go up. Um, as we as we wrap up,
No, we need to see them
uh,
thug tears.
it ain't happening. Not this episode. This was one of my favorite episodes, but the tears is not happening on this episode. I gotta save that. I gotta save that one. So to wrap up, one of the things you talked about is the importance of not just telling your truth, but living your truth, right? And when you live in your
Yes.
truth, one of the things I stress to my students is I need you to be true to yourself before you say anything or do anything with me, right? Like I need you to do that, right? Period, right?
Right.
I said period. I didn't want to do that, but you prompted me. And I didn't want to do that. I did not want to say. You tricked me. You tricked me. I didn't want to do that, but because I think once you're able to live in your truth, you
Mm-hmm.
then anchor yourself in the decisions that you're able to make. Right? Like changing from other people's expectations or societal pressures becomes a lot
Mhm.
easier because you're living in your truth and you have a
Right.
testimony to that. I think also you talking about the importance of using your superpower to
Mhm.
affect change in the community. Right? You've honed in on your passion and your purpose, and
Right.
also you found spaces where comfortability is not to be overlooked, right? There's
Right.
times when we need to stretch beyond our comfortability, but there's times when this is like, no, we need to be comfortable to better understand what our greatness looks like in these brave and safe spaces. So I am
Right.
super happy that you've shed so much light. Also, talking about the importance of forward planning and
Right.
leveraging your social network once again. We want to give you the last word, and we're doing a segment this month, and I think it's going to be important. Maybe this deserves the super spotlight. I'm going to ask you a question, and it's on the spot. You're not prepared for this, but I think you got it.
Mhm.
60 seconds. I want you to give your best pitch. Why FAMU? Why did you attend FAMU, and why should others consider it?
I chose FAMU because FAMU presents its students as its prize. It presents its students and sets its students up for professional greatness. The values that we learn here, the information that we learn here, and the environment that is created at FAMU makes you feel as though you are great. You are the future because every generation is. So I would say to those looking at FAMU, this is the school for you. Each program here has amazing turnouts as far as their alum. And so I think that FAMU just really puts in a lot of care to the faculty that they have here, the professors, our president, the academic advisors. They care about their students. And I would say that everybody I know that goes here loves their school. They love FAMU. They love their major, and it makes them a better person. It really does change you, especially coming from a PWI. So I would say anyone thinking about coming to FAMU, do it. You are not going to regret. You're never going to want to leave. So
Love it. Amber, last word.
it. Oh my gosh. One, thank you so much for showing up and like telling your story so honestly, openly, and authentically. And I think this is one of my favorite episodes. One, because it's a young person, number one. You know I love young people. That's number one. But two, to be able to like hear your growth journey, I think it's going to liberate a lot of students. It's going to also support a lot of our counselor friends who are watching to really understand like why and what goes into a really good choice, because you obviously picked the the best choice ever for yourself, but like really understanding like what that would look like for a young person. So like thank you for being here. Thank you for showing
Thank
up.
you.
We are so appreciative. Like
Mhm.
go
Great
ahead.
episode. And we are on track with all my people. We see y'all in a few. Thank y'all.
Thanks for tuning in. Follow us at OTWAMP. OTWAMP. That's our little thing there. So follow us on Instagram. Yeah, and continue to listen to us because we have more to come. See you next time.
And I want to say I was serious this episode. I didn't make any real jokes, but it's coming for the next one. I'm proud of myself. I did this, and I'm proud of myself. Just want to state that. I held it in as long as I could.
Goodbye.
Bye.